Hi, my name is Dominic Manning. I'm originally from an hour north of Boston, and right now I'm living in Scottsdale. I'm finishing up my undergrad in international relations. I'm about 6 weeks from graduating. I'm also a full-time ER tech in Scottsdale. I work night shift, 7 to 7. I got off 3 hours early to make this video before class in 6 hours. But my path to this point hasn't really been a straight line. It's actually an important part of who I am. I feel like I kind of do a lot of things that other people don't. Right after high school, I left home. I joined the Army. I went down to Fort Benning, Georgia for infantry training. And immediately after that, I went to RASP, Ranger Assessment and Selection Program. It's tryouts to become an Army Ranger. I went, I didn't quit, and I made it. But being in a special operations unit opened a ton of doors for me. Like I got to go to a bunch of schools, did a bunch of cool stuff. I went through airborne school, ranger school, sniper school, I don't know, you name it, a bunch of specialized programs. But during my time in, I went to Iraq and Jordan, and I came out of the military with a much stronger foundation than when I went in. I learned what leadership under pressure meant, and what it actually looked like, what real teamwork means when the stakes and outcomes are, they genuinely matter, and how to commit fully to something that's difficult without looking for an exit, and genuinely difficult. I think that gave me a new perspective on difficulties and feasibility. But transitioning out of that world and into a college campus was kind of its own adjustment that I don't think it's talked about enough. The pace is different, the priorities feel different, and the culture is different. Going from special operations to being in class with 19-year-olds is hell. Not that it's their fault, it's mine. But I try not to be on campus more than I have to be, especially working nights. But that experience has given me a perspective that I think genuinely is hard to replicate. But I've seen firsthand what it looks like when government organizations and people in high-stake roles actually have to perform under pressure when every decision has consequences and there's no room to get it wrong. That shapes how I look at public service and government and leadership in a way that goes beyond what I could have gotten from a classroom alone. But after the military, I moved to Boulder, Colorado, and I started school at CU. I spent a few years there, but ultimately it wasn't the right fit. Loved the place, didn't love the people. Definitely some weirdos there, so I transferred to ASU and moved to Scottsdale to finish my degree. Outside of school and work, most of my time right now is going towards building a super specific career path that I've been working towards for a while. I got my EMT certification a couple of years ago in Denver, and that was a deliberate first step. Immediately after finishing with this class, I'm heading to Dallas to start an accelerated paramedic program. Not long after that, I'm hoping to pursue grad school, either simultaneously or immediately after paramedic school. But the next year of my life is going to be pretty intensive, but it's all building towards the same goal. The long-term plan is to work as a special agent for a federal law enforcement agency, something like FBI or HSI or one of the adjacent agencies. What makes the paramedic piece interesting in this context is that federal agencies allow their special agents to work as paramedics on the side if they have their paramedic, just to keep their skills sharp. It's super niche, maybe 1% of agents have it, but it makes the agency look really good. If a FEMA event happens, they can send an agent. So if FBI San Diego says, I can send an agent to go help out with this Katrina case, Hurricane Katrina, it looks really good on the FBI San Diego, so they let you work to keep your skills sharp. So I'm really shooting for that niche so I can get the best of both worlds. But it's niche and it's really intentional and it's mine and I love it. But down the road, I'd also like to try out for one of the TAC teams, like FBI SWAT team or something. But that's the closest thing they have to special operations within like a federal agency. But given my background, I'm hoping that transition will feel pretty natural. So when I think about it and what it means to be an engaged citizen, I think that my answer has evolved a lot over the years. For me, it's less about showing up once every 4 years to vote, and it's more about choosing a life that's genuinely oriented around helping people. But putting myself in positions where I'm directly responsible for, someone's well-being, or whether I'm in special operations context overseas in the highest capacity possible, or I'm in an emergency room, or I'm on an ambulance, or the highest level care pre-hospital, or I'm working as a special agent stopping human trafficking, drug trafficking, domestic terrorism. The through line is all the same. I think what being an engaged citizen really means at its core is actively working to make your country or your community objectively better. Not for personal gain, but because the work needs to be done and you're in a position to do it. For me, it's trying to show up every day and, it's doing as best you can to make the world and society a better place. But yeah, I know it's a lot and it's intentional, but I really appreciate you watching this. I know I was talking really fast. I'm